TFA fam, welcome back in. Week 6 is here already. We have more props to talk about. We've been doing well so far this year, Tom. Whenever we have gone live, whenever we've given the folks some picks, we've been doing well. So we're going to try and continue to do that for you all, continue to build those bankrolls. So, Tom, kick it off, buddy. What do you like for the NFL Week 6 player props?
Before I get to that, I asked you a question last week about the most clutch player that you've ever had in your city, and I was talking about Bryce Harper. Good God Almighty! If you've been paying attention, Code, that's bonkers. Not so much. Okay.
No, sorry, I was
You're good.
I was hearing something outside that sounded like gunshots. So I was
Okay, well, take
I was
cover.
a little sidetracked. I was a little sidetracked.
I mean,
baseball isn't my thing, man. I haven't.
Yeah, no, I know.
I did it's just, I get the rundown from my father-in-law though. Whenever I go to drop Carson off at his house, dude, the other day I dropped Carson off over there, and he basically gave me like a play-by-play of what happened during the Phillies game. He's like, oh, then that Arunia, and it just giving me the whole spiel. So I found out what happened through him. He had 2 homers, right?
Or yes, was 2 homers after somebody decided it would be smart to talk shit on Bryce, and then he stared him down. It was just good. It was just epically good. All right, well, we're in week
baseball.
Yeah, we're in week 6 now. And we're taking Raheem Mostert over 76.5 rushing yards. That was 74.5. I always, it's not A-Chain anymore, apparently. How do you say it now?
A-Chan.
A-Chan? Okay, well, he's not playing. No Jeffrey Wilson against the Panthers defense. It's allowing the 2nd most fantasy points to running backs in the league, 3rd most rushing yards as well. It's such a smash matchup, and he comes in without a whole lot of competition. He's hit this in 2 out of his 5 games, was banged up in one of them, but both games he had more than 13 carries where he hit that number. Without A-Chain taking reps from him, I think he's a lock for 15 to 20 carries tomorrow. Vegas currently has his over-under on carries sitting at 15.5. That's even money. So I also like that one. It's kind of just the perfect storm for a huge day from him. And I was just talking to you, Code. It's just fun fact for everybody. Mostert's anytime touchdown is sitting at minus 190. And CMC, who has scored in literally every single game since Walito has been born, is only at minus 165. Which is
I don't know. I don't know if it's going to be. I don't know if it's 14 going into this game, 14 straight games with a touchdown.
I believe it's 14.
Like I don't know if he already has 14, and then this
I believe he has
15.
Yeah, I believe he has 14.
Yeah, so it's crazy, but I mean that Cleveland defense is legit. I don't have a write up on this one, but on the other side of that, Adam Thielen over 61.5 receiving yards, I think is a really strong bet as well. He's been the only Panthers receiver doing anything. They are 14.5 point underdogs going into that game. Miami's been middle of the road in terms of receiving yards allowed to wide receivers. So Adam Thielen, I like a lot. Not necessarily, it's like a quasi official pick. I like it a lot, but I didn't have anything written up for it.
Yeah, I mean, also in that game, I also have it's Miami to win, which that should be easy. Mostert to score a touchdown and Mostert over 64.5. So take 10 yards off his actual total right now, or it's 76.5 now. It was 74.5. And that gets you at plus money for a same game parlay. So I like that one too.
I was going to say, was that coming in like plus 105?
I will tell you in a second. It's not plus a ton, but it's still plus money.
Right.
Which, again, with all of those bets, seem pretty likely to happen. So one of them won't.
Yeah, but 100%. So my first one is going to be Christian Kirk over 61.5 receiving yards. Indy runs the most zone coverage in the league, and Christian Kirk has done extremely well against zone coverage this year. nearly 86% of his receiving yards have come against zone coverage. So I really like this one a ton. Obviously, Christian Kirk has basically been outpacing Calvin Ridley for target share, receiving yards. We have Nose Jones again in this one. So Christian Kirk over 61.5. Calvin Ridley's line is actually at the same. That one is 61.5 as well. I think both of those are fine plays. I like both of them. So Christian Kirk, though, is the guy that I would lean toward. I just feel like he's a little bit safer, but that 61.5 for Ridley is very appealing as well.
Yeah, we were talking last week. Somebody asked who was the safest, person to bet on as far as props, and we said Christian Kirk, and that's been
they both got there, but
yeah, they both got there, but Christian Kirk got there sooner, I believe,
quicker. Yeah.
I'll stick in that game, and I'm going to go Josh Downs over 45.5 yards. That moved up from 44.5. This stats from Kyle Dvorak over at RotoWorld. Gardner Minshew has played more than half of the Colts snaps in 3 games this season. Downs has averaged 7.7 targets, 6 catches, and 63.7 yards in those games. His numbers dropped to 2.5 and 32 yards in games that Anthony Richardson takes majority of the snaps. So I didn't really, I saw the stat earlier in the week and was like, I wonder what Downs' prop is. And I was like 44. Okay, well, what the hell? So I didn't want to sit there and try and take all that, on my own and try and reword it because it was just too perfect. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The matchup isn't too shabby either. I mean, Jags have allowed 7 receivers to go over 60 yards so far this season. So, I mean, yeah, that one makes a lot of sense for me. I was actually struggling. I still am on my Scott Fishbowl team, struggling on if I should start Josh Downs or T. Higgins. So, I mean, that kind of tells you where you're at with both players.
Well, the thing with T. Higgins, obviously, is like if he takes one wrong hit, like he could be done. Right. I really don't understand why they're even trying to play him in this game. Either. But because they have the bye week coming up, but I don't know. That's one of those things. Like if you start T. Higgins, he's going to get you 1.2. If you bench him, he's going to go off. So either way, you're going to be wrong.
Well, you know what? I'm taking the Bengals over, so that's fine with me. As long as that happens, I'm okay with it.
We're going to go ahead and move on. I am going to. This feels gross because I'm doubling down on Washington receivers and their overs in this game. But hear me out. We're going to start with Logan Thomas, over 35.5 receiving yards. He has hit this in 3 of his 4 games that he's played this year. The only game where he didn't hit this was the game where he left early with a concussion. The Falcons are allowing the 5th most receiving yards to tight ends, and they have allowed a tight end to go over 35.5 in all but 1 game so far this year. So Logan Thomas, I really like in this game. He just seems like no matter. Go ahead.
Do you have a website that you go to where it's just like uglytightendprops.com or something like that? Because
I run it.
Yeah. It's my handle. Because
it's
you
my
find
website
and props where I'm just like, that's so gross. But yeah, that makes so much sense. Like Logan Thomas has been really good so far. You're just waiting for the bubble to burst. But against the Falcons, I don't know if it's going to burst. So I'm not going to say, I can't say I like, I mean, I do like, I don't want to say I like it. So you know what I mean.
I got you.
All right. Did you want to do your other one now, or did you want me to do one and then you can go back to the ugly fucking Commanders?
No, I'll take it. And you're probably going to hate this one just as much, maybe even a little bit more, because I'm not going Terry McLaurin. I'm not going Jahan Dotson. We're taking an over on Curtis Samuel, baby. Over 32.5 receiving yards. He has actually hit this in 4 of his 5 games. All of those games, he's had at least 50 receiving yards. He's gone over 50 receiving yards in 3 straight games. And the Falcons slot corner, D. Alford, who I didn't even know he was still playing in the league, he has allowed the 5th most receiving yards from the slot this year. So doubling down on the Commanders, what could possibly go wrong?
Not a goddamn thing. I'm looking up his rushing and receiving right now. 36.5.
All of them.
What's his receiving? What did you say it was?
32.5.
Extra 4 yards.
He hasn't done a ton with rushing. Actually, he only has 1 attempt in the last 3 games, and he only has 20 rushing yards on this season.
It felt like he had 3 or 4 against the Eagles. I guess they were just quick screens.
Yeah, just one rushing attempt against the Eagle. That's where the one comes in over the past 3 weeks. And then he went 7 for 51 through the air.
All right. Well, speaking of the Eagles, I am going to actually take a running back against the Eagles, which is very ill-advised most of the time. Breece Hall over 55.5 rushing yards, was 54.5. Stats say this is not very smart, but, based on the Eagles' run defense so far this year, but the Eagles are going to be without Jalen Carter and Darius Slay tomorrow, and I'm not sure how well they're going to do, on the defensive side of the ball, to be honest. I know it's Zach Wilson, but if they can get Breece some room to run there, and Jalen Carter has been just outstanding at everything so far, so they're going to miss him. Fletcher Cox, I believe he's coming back tomorrow. Not sure if he's 100% yet, so I just don't know, man. I'm not smashing this, but I think Breece is going to hit some chunk plays and get to this number. The Eagles have given up a bunch of 7-8 yard runs this year. His longest rush is 15.5, and it felt like the Eagles have given that up quite a few times, and they've really kept guys in check as far as really long runs. It's usually 11, 12, 15, but it's multiple times a game where guys are hitting them with that. So that's why I'm going to go Breece Hall over 55.5. And the only thing this dude needs is a seam, and he's picking up a long game. So
yeah.
I don't know how much they're going to get going in the passing game, so I think they're going to try and slow the game down. That's kind of was Washington's MO against the Eagles. They just try and slow it down. Last year, at least. This year, they threw all over him. Jesus Christ. But, yeah, slow it down a little bit. Give Breece the ball a bunch of times, and I think we'll get to this number.
Was that your third one?
It was. I have one more.
Let's hear it. Lay it on us, buddy.
All right, DeAndre Hopkins over 4.5 receptions. All right, when I took this, it was at minus 130 on DraftKings. It's now up to minus 195. I took this last night, so it's not like a whole lot of time has gone by. It's minus 185 on MGM, but it's a clear smash to me. It was when it was minus 130. So it's just kind of crazy that it shot up that high. I expected to go to 5.5 pretty soon, and I feel comfortable with that as well. He's got a 28.5% of the target share, which puts him 8th in the league. So that's kind of bonkers how many targets he's getting. The Ravens have allowed 9 receivers to get to 5 or more catches this year. It's a lot to put down now on its own. So I would recommend either waiting until it moves up or do a same game parlay with something you like from that game. You can do Hopkins for 50 yards and 4.5 receptions, and that gets it down to minus 130. Easy smash. I believe his overall number, his normal number is at 60.5 or 61.5. So if you like both of those, I'm perfectly fine with that as well, because I think he's been really good the last couple of weeks, especially if you watch the games, he's getting open a lot.
Yeah, I think you could do a same game parlay with Zay Flowers over his receiving, because the Titans secondary is doo-doo butter. And I feel like with the Ravens offense hasn't been great, but I don't think that is any fault of Lamar Jackson. There's just been a bunch of drops and just sloppy play, and some of the play calling has been questionable. So I think you could take Zay Flowers in that and to turn that into a same game parlay where the odds will be a little bit more in your favor.
Right.
Just throw out some other ones. I guess I really only have one other. Oh, two. Jordan Addison over 54.5 receiving yards. I like. Obviously, Justin Jefferson. The Bears are just absolutely terrible, and they've just been allowing receivers just to tear them apart all year long. So I like Addison, especially without Justin Jefferson there. And then Rashad White under 46.5 rushing yards. Like that one makes me feel like a little uneasy just because it is such a low number. But I think Rashad White has actually only hit that in like 2 games, I want to say, and the Detroit Lions have not allowed a single running back this year to go over that number. So I think that's going to be a game. Yeah, I think it's going to be. I think the most that they had allowed was 43 to Kenneth Walker, I think it was, and that was on 17 carries. So I think you can look there. I think it's going to be. I do like that game for fantasy purposes and for DFS, but I think that one's going to be much more passing than it is anything on the ground. So
yeah,
let's go ahead and jump in. If anyone
hold
else
on now. I got 2 more I like, not official, but come on, you can do it. You got to ask me. One same game part. Hi, Code. How you doing, buddy? Come back to the show. Offended. Same game parlay. CMC anytime touchdown. San Francisco money line and San Francisco over 22.5 points. That gets you to plus 142. The first 2 to me are easy smashes. Just
that last one.
Based on history. The first 2, if you don't like the over 22.5, gets it down to minus 130. Cleveland has allowed over 22 points in 2 out of their 4 games, and the 49ers haven't scored less than 30 points. So I do like that if you want to throw sometimes with stuff like this, I'll do 2 separate bets. I'll do the safer version with CMC and the touchdown and the San Francisco money line on one bet, and then I'll add the points to the other one just to kind of feel a little bit safer. And I also have Jake Elliott over 7.5 points because we have to slip a kicker bet in here. He's had that and at least 2 field goals every single game so far, with the Eagles struggling a little bit in the red zone there. So I like that. Also, I was talking to Cody earlier. No Sauce Gardner, no DJ Reed for the Jets tomorrow. That's going to be interesting. And on the other side of the ball, you don't have Darius Slay and you don't have Jalen Carter. So that's going to be a weird. I don't know. As an Eagles fan, I feel really weird about the game. I don't want them to get caught looking ahead to Miami because that's who they have next week. And it just feels like a trap. So I don't feel great about it. Sauce being out makes me feel a lot better. But it's a weird spot, man.
I was just looking. AJ Brown's total is at 69.5. So that with Sauce and Reed being out.
That was at 64.5, so it moved up 5 yards.
Okay.
But it's
do you
not.
Do you know what Smitty was at?
Maybe 57.5.
He is at 55.5 right now on DK.
No, then he was at like 51. Or no, wait, 50. He hasn't moved then.
Okay. I feel like his game is coming. Like his game is going to be here. Like no one wanting to play him. Like I think this could be the game. But let's go ahead and jump into.
Hold on, one thing. Sorry, last thing. Because of that, you might want to throw some money down on longest receptions for each of those guys, because I feel like they're going to be attacking down the field tomorrow.
Let me. I'm going to pull up longest reception here just to see.
Yeah, and then maybe Jalen Hurts longest completion.
So AJ Brown 25.5, Devonta Smith 22.5. And Devonta Smith, you're actually getting better odds on the over. That's at -110, and the under is at -120 on DraftKings. I think Garrett Wilson at 20.5 is interesting with the injuries that you're talking about.
Yeah, so what he's going to wind up having to do, it's going to wind up being a slant, and they're going to run. He's going to run for it. I don't feel like it's going to be a shot down the field.
How do you feel about Kenneth Walker, 67.5?
Seattle is playing
Bengals.
The Bengals.
Zach Charbonnet has started to get a little bit more involved over the past couple of weeks.
He is. That is not one that I'm going to take. Just because I don't know what that Seattle offense is going to wind up doing. I don't know what they're going to deploy. I don't know what they're doing with JSN. I just don't know.
Yeah, basically not using JSN. I can't remember they're. I want to say bottom 5. I can't remember the exact number, but they are like bottom 5 in 11 personnel rate. It's like they're just not using him.
What would you say you do here, Bob?
So we got a super chat coming in from Joe. Appreciate the super chat here. Breece Hall for Justin Jefferson.
Oof.
This to me is like a luxury trade if you're getting Justin Jefferson, right? Like,
yeah, it is.
Because the one positive we do have, the one positive note is that the reports are coming out that Kirk Cousins said, I guess he's not going to waive his no trade clause. So like that was one of the things that we were starting to get worried about. Is like, man, if Justin Jefferson's going to be out, 4 to 6 weeks, and they trade Kirk Cousins, now all of a sudden you're looking at Jaron Hall from BYU, who's at day 3, maybe even undrafted rookie this year. So it was not looking good. But now with Kirk Cousins saying that he's going to stay in Minnesota, that at least makes you feel better if you're making a trade for Justin Jefferson. And if you're trading away Breece Hall, you have to have the running backs behind it, because I think from here on out, we're going to see Breece Hall just be the guy. Like we started to see it. Like it wasn't – he still only played, I think it was like 60% of the snaps last week. So like he's still not getting like a crazy snap share. But obviously the touches were heavily in his favor outside of Michael Carter running a bunch of routes in Breece Hall's place. But I think that's something that could change as the season goes on. So this one to me is like, if you're getting the Justin Jefferson side, it like you are like you have.
If you can survive for 5 weeks,
right,
and get Justin Jefferson back for the playoffs, then smash.
I love it. Yes.
It depends on your other running backs, because if you're going to wind up going 2 and 3 or 1 and 4 in this stretch where Jefferson's not out, then you kind of got to keep him.
Appreciate you, Joe. Let us know which side that you took on that as well, or are taking. Madison over 51.5 rushing.
I'm not taking any Minnesota running back to do anything.
No. He saw his lowest snap share last week. Like, I think we were just looking at an absolute headache with Cam Akers coming into the fold. So that's not, I mean, I get it. It's Chicago, trash defense, but that's not one I would want to take either way. I mean, I would lean to the under, but
I'm just staying away.
Yeah. Speaking of staying away, JT over 44.5.
Who would have known?
I told you the under last week. Walito. You tried to take the over. It was the under.
Who would have thought Zach Moss? Good God.
150 yards against what many consider the toughest run defense in the league, and just shredded them.
Like what? Pardon me? Yeah.
Yeah, this is another one I would just want to stay away from. Not that there's anything on the Jags that necessarily scares me, but again, there's the reason why I like the under on him last week. Outside of the matchup, which didn't seem to matter for Zach Moss, but we're talking about a dude who literally didn't do anything during the off season or preseason in terms of like actual like football work. You know what I mean? Like with him being injured, like I don't know how much like actual activity he got in either. And now with Zach Moss playing as well as he's playing, like it's not just last week. Like Zach Moss has been good all year, which is not something I
Right.
ever thought would come out of my mouth. So like I just don't think there's gonna be like any like there's no need to rush him back.
No, and
So
you have to factor in the extension too, right? Because it's not just a year thing. It's now they have him locked up for multiple years. So they're not going to try and damage him in the first like couple games back. They're going to work him in. Especially if so the other thing, the extension makes no sense at all to me now. You have Zach Moss going out there and just absolutely blowing up, and then you're refusing to pay Jonathan Taylor. And then Zach Moss does really good, and you're like, you know what? Good point. We're going to pay you. Like,
yeah, it's awesome.
but why? But why?
Because Jim Irsay. That's why.
They proved their own point, and then they're like, all right, bet.
Amari DiMercato, 35.5 rushing.
I'm gonna wait to see a game where he has the share first.
Yeah, I don't know what to expect. I mean, I think obviously DiMercato has been better than anything we've seen from Keontae Ingram in his time with the Cardinals, but do they really just give him all the touches? Because when the season started, it was Keontae Ingram. Now that started to shift, and then Ingram got hurt. But still, like I don't know if this is going to be a full on DiMercato just taking over the work. And then you also the Rams have been much better than I anticipated defensively.
Much better.
On
both sides of the ball, man.
Yeah. You talked about the D-Hop and his receptions. I mentioned Thielen at the top. We both like that one. This is your boy Ayuk. What about over 49.5 receiving?
It feels low. It feels like a trap, but I'll still probably take it.
So the only thing that worries me in that game when you were talking about the 22.5 for San Fran, like all the numbers make sense, but between this game and the Chicago game, seems like that's where the weather is going to be the biggest deal. I'm looking at Roto Grinders right now, and that is coded as an orange. It says the winds here likely come in a touch under what we see in Chicago, but we're still bringing in 15 to 20 mile per hour sustained winds with gusts around 30. On top of that, this is the game we're most likely to see the rain. Models show off and on showers during game time. So that would be the only thing that
I'd probably stay away then because of the water.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to the rain. But I'm not going to take the under.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Talked about Christian Kirk. Anthony, what's up? Thank you guys for joining us. If you're joining us for the first time, please hit us with a like and a sub. Pitts over 32.5 receiving hit last week. Yeah, I mean, we all should have seen Desmond Ridder coming out and having his first 300-yard plus game
I mean, honestly, I bet on him to have like over 300 yards. I can't believe you guys didn't. I didn't tell anybody.
No, I mean, everyone would just do it.
Kyle Pitts should be getting that number, and we were like sitting here in tears saying, I don't want to take it just because of the usage. If he gets used, he's going to hit it. If they get their heads out of their ass and they throw the ball to him, yeah, he's going to hit it.
Yeah.
And it'll be great.
Cup, 86.5.
Talk about a jump. I mean, last week we were talking about, 54.5?
Yeah, it was like 56.5, something like that, yeah.
Yeah, and dude looked good in the first half. Second half, they shut him down, though. Second half, they did shut them down.
I would rather take Puka.
Arizona.
I just looked at Puka here, and he is sitting at 66.5. Give me that. Give me that.
Yeah, I mean for the number, yeah, but I mean Cup's receptions are probably at what, 5.5 or 6.5? If they're 5.5,
I wish DK would set this 7.5 with the over sitting at plus 105. Puka is at 5.5, and the over is at minus 180.
Yeah. Minus 180 for 5.5
for Puka. Yep.
Yeah. I think I lean over on Cup, and I lean over on Diggs.
Yeah, I like Diggs over 84.5 as well. Keenan Allen at 81.5. I like that one too.
Yep.
Walito, we gotta stop, buddy.
I'm not addressing it. I feel like it's now a theme of the show. We're just not addressing it. And he can win as much money as he wants, but I'm not addressing it.
Yeah, I feel like Walito has hit on his MT props more often than not.
Yes.
Got another super chat here. This one from Brandon. Appreciate you rocking with us. Foreman or Chuba? I would go Chuba Hubbard here. I mean,
yes,
Foreman he did well in Tennessee. He did well in Carolina last year, but he's also been a healthy scratch since week 1, right? And Minnesota's run defense has been surprisingly pretty strong instead of secondary that's just getting absolutely shredded. And what Chuba he's been involved even with Miles Sanders when he's healthy. So I would go Chuba there. And then we need 2 between, I'm assuming that's Devonta Smith, Addison, Wilson, and Godwin.
Well, I talked about all the corners being out in that Eagles Jets game. I think Addison, you're pretty safe. Godwin is safe. If you need options that are absolutely going to I'm starting Devonta.
Yeah,
Tampa plays. Go
ahead. Tampa plays Detroit. It would be Smith and Addison for me as long as the weather is going to be okay. It did seem like that. Let me just read this. Rain should mostly clear pre-game. Though a lingering shower isn't impossible. Winds are the greater concern, sustained around 20 miles per hour with gusts over 30. So that is the Chicago game.
Okay.
So it seems the wins in that Chicago game are going to be the ones to watch. But I think as long as it doesn't seem, as long as it doesn't seem absolutely insane, I would go Addison there. But if we start to see reports pregame that the winds are picking up, they're a little bit worse, then I would pivot to Godwin. I just don't want to put my money on Zach Wilson. That's. I know Godwin wasn't really involved at all until Mike Evans went out last week, and that's whenever he finally balled. But Detroit is going to be missing some of their key pieces in the secondary. Brian Branch has been ruled out. Emmanuel Mosley rather is on IR now. Obviously, they're without CJ Gardner-Johnson, so if it's Smith and Addison for me, but if we get some bad weather reports pregame, then I would pivot to Godwin.
I would actually pivot to Wilson.
I think he has the higher.
He does, and the Eagles have they play off ball a lot. They play way too far back. They don't press enough, in my opinion. And they let them get that. And it's Zach Wilson. I don't think Zach Wilson's beating you down the field. So if they're playing off 7 to 8 yards like they have been, Garrett Wilson's going to just hit a ton of slants we saw Washington do. And that's, Sam Howell. So same ilk, so to speak. So I would go Wilson if Addison, if that doesn't look good there.
Appreciate you, Brandon. Thank you for the super chat. Amon-Ra over 5.5 receptions. I mean, never a bad call to bet on Amon-Ra.
Yep.
Especially with Sam Laporta dealing with a calf injury right now. Questionable. Looks like he will play, but still, I mean, you can never go wrong with Amon-Ra. We were just talking about this game a little bit. Godwin over 5.5 receptions. I don't know. I don't love that one.
No.
This one I will give you, Walito. Kamara over 92.5 total yards. Although last week, Walito, you did say the Kamara over 4.5 receptions was free money. It didn't come through. So just want to point out that you're wrong and you suck. You talked about Brees already. Josh Jacobs finally starting to get a little bit more involved. Well, not necessarily more involved, but starting to look a little bit better on the ground. Over 13.5 on his longest rush.
Yeah, I mean, New England is bleeding. They're going to give up some chunk plays. I am very interested to see. So Vegas is looking at that game, and they're thinking that New England is going to try and shut Devontae down. Because his over is 74.5, which I saw it and I was like, 74.5, huh? And I know last week he didn't get a ton of targets, 4 targets. Like, what the fuck are you doing? So I feel like they're going to go out there and just target the living shit out of him. But Belichick is still very good at taking away another team's best player. So if they do that with Adams, I feel like it's going to open some things up with Jacobs. And I was looking at like his receptions. I believe it's 3.5, which I do like.
I like that.
So I like Jacobs' reception a little bit more than I like the longest rush there, but I can definitely see that popping.
How do you feel about KJ Osborne over 18.5 on his longest reception?
18.5? God damn.
Like, it feels low, but if we're dealing with, if we're dealing with these wins, and also KJ Osborne has just been all year.
I like the under. I like the under on that.
Yeah, KJ Osborne has been ass all year. Like, you've been playing poorly whenever Brandon Powell comes in after Justin Jefferson goes down, and he's immediately getting more targets than you are.
Yeah.
Speaking of ass, Kendrick Bourne, what are we doing, Walito? Buddy, who hurt you? Can you show me on the doll where? I didn't even know God. Kendrick Bourne was still getting targeted.
Yeah.
Well, I was about to say this is something I should know. No, I shouldn't. What the fuck has Kendrick Bourne been doing anyway? Let's see here.
He did well the first game.
Yeah, he had 20 targets between the first 2 weeks, and then since then it's been 5, 3, and 5. Although he has gone over. He has had at least 36 receiving yards the past 3 weeks. 2 for 43 last week, 2 for 36 the week before, and then 4 for 46 against the Jets. So I'd rather put my hard-earned money somewhere else. You are the Eagles guy here, 230.5 for Hurts.
I'll put it here because I feel like they're probably gonna throw the bottom on him.
Barkley, Stevenson, Gabe Davis, or Palmer. Pick one.
Ugh. One. Barkley plays Sunday night, right?
Yeah. I mean...
Oh, that's against the Bills, though, right? Right?
Offensive line, yeah.
No, so it's Bills. So I feel like that's kind of easy for me. I would stick with Barkley, and if he can't go or you get like, all right, maybe like just bad vibes, and I would pivot to Davis because they're in the same game, so you're good there.
You could even go to Palmer as well.
Yes, because he plays Monday
with no. So I mean, I wish I could say Stevenson, but his usage, his snap share has been going down every week. They're not using him in the passing game, which is something he did very well last year. So like, I guess it's Barkley as long as he goes, because out of this group, he's by far going to see the most work. I did see a little nugget to that the Giants play a lot of man, and Gabe Davis does not do well versus man coverage, whereas Stephon Diggs does. So I would, if like you said, if you get some bad vibes around Barkley, I would probably pivot to Palmer with them not having Diggs anymore.
Makes sense.
Cooper Cup, anytime TD.
Yeah, sure. Oh man, he's going out on a limb on this next one.
CMC, we had
dude. You like
crazy.
to gamble. You like to gamble.
Imagine typing in Kendrick Bourne longest reception and then following it up with CMC.
He felt he had to overcompensate.
This is true Walito fashion. Mike Evans, anytime TD, can't go wrong with that. Like I said, I think that's where they're going to have to attack Detroit. They're not going to be able to run the ball against them. Rashad White's a turd.
Big turd.
And he was a full practice on Friday and was pronounced a full go. AJB.
What is going on right now?
Pierce Swift for JT, Brees, DJ Moore. I wasn't, typically we like to stick with the player props on this one, but since this is a bunch of guys that either you like or are Philly guys, I did want to throw this one out.
I do like Brees over Swift. I like DJ. See, the problem is the upside with AJ Brown. But I like AJ over Brees. So we'll go AJ over Brees. I like Swift over.
That's kind of it.
Yeah. I think that's the trade right there. I would probably keep AJ Brown and that side. It's close though. JT's upside there. It depends on what you need. If you need safe, all right, put it this way. If you are like firmly in first place, I would keep AJ Brown and Swift. If you need to swing for the fences, I would go JT, Brees, and DJ Moore. That group has higher upside to me as a whole.
Yeah, it's just I've never been a DJ Moore guy, and it's really hard, obviously, to see his what he's doing right now isn't sustainable, right? Like, just not.
No, yeah, absolutely
not going to continue.
I prefer the
having
AJ.
Said that,
go ahead.
Having said that, I think I would lean the JTs.
Yeah, I think that the side one is safer. Side two has a better chance to blow up or fall flat on your face.
Yeah. Like that if you're getting the JT side, that is either going to that solely is going to win you the league or this is going to lose you.
Right. Right. That's a risky trade. I get why you would do it. If you're sitting at 2-3, 1-4, and you need something to maybe swing a Hail Mary, then that's fine. But I'd stick with the other side.
Oh, goodness.
I'm gonna go Jonathan Taylor there, but
it's closer than it should be. But I would go JT as well, just because with Ford, obviously he's going to see more volume than Jonathan Taylor will. But that is a dreadful matchup for
awful
Ford, especially considering it is going to be PJ at quarterback.
And they're going to be playing catch up. Awful. Yeah. Just awful.
Rest of season, Downs, Rice, or Quentin Johnson. Ooh. This is going to be Rashee Rice. If he can actually, he has shown almost every week that he is their best receiving option. If he can finally start getting these snaps to go along with that, Rashee Rice is going to absolutely smash. Right? You're talking about give me Patrick Mahomes. Quentin Johnson still dealing with Keenan Allen, with Palmer, with Eckler. Rice is basically dealing with Travis Kelce. But we've seen a top tight end and a wide receiver coexist in the same Patrick Mahomes offense, right?
Yeah.
So like rest of season, I went Rice. I would rank them Rice, Downs, and Quentin Johnson.
Same. I do like Josh Downs a lot, but Anthony Richardson comes back, and we don't know what we're getting there.
Yeah. Monty, over.
I'll go higher.
Yeah.
Over, under. Is he gonna get a fucking touchdown?
Anytime touchdown. Yeah, that one threw me off. I like the anytime touchdown there. Rico, Adam Thielen, 5.5 receptions. I like higher. We talked about CMC anytime touchdown, so that is going to be higher on that one as well. Not good fantasy coming through with some Waka Flocka Flames with some Cam Akers. I mean, it would depend on what the odds were. Let me see what this
plus 26,000. Good odds.
TD score Akers. Oh my God, where did that go? Oh wow, this is not what I expected it to be. What if you had to guess, Tom? What do you think his anytime touchdown odds are?
Dude, I saw some weird thing about Kevin O'Connell basically abusing his players and giving Madison a possible kick. Yes.
Yeah, that was not real.
If that was true, I would still put it at plus 1,200.
Plus 195.
Oh, I'm sorry. Not first touchdown. That's still so much. I would think like 400, 450.
That is wild.
I'm still not doing it.
That juice is not worth the squeeze. A couple more here, then we are going to get out of here. Michael Gale, pick 2, Hubbard, Foreman, Ford.
Hubbard, definitely.
Oh, God. I'm going to go Hubbard and Ford.
Yeah, that's where I'm leaning.
Then would you still start Laporte as flex with the injury or play Godwin?
If he plays, I'm playing him.
Yeah, if he plays, I'm playing Laporta. Can also go with Barkley in the flex when I'm downing he plays. What do you guys think? So that was
from what? Sure.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure. I wanted to make sure that wasn't. Then we had the Barkley question earlier. This is from Brandon's former Chuba.
I think your other options are a little better.
I'd probably still. God. Do you want to play Barkley or Chuba?
Probably Chuba right now. Ugh, it's gross.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Nico Pittman or Pierce in a standard?
Pierce in a standard.
I would go Pittman. In a PPR, Hall, Olave, or London?
Not London.
Oh, man. The Texans' corners outside of last week have been pretty good.
They have been.
I would go Olave. Derek Carr, I think, was already off the injury report on like Wednesday or Thursday. Olave also off the injury report.
Yeah, I think Brees has a decent day, not great. Football wise, I think fantasy wise, I think he might not be that. I'd probably go Olave too.
There you have it. Appreciate you guys. If you have yet to do so, please hit us with a like and a sub. I think I will be going solo tomorrow morning for the Sunday start sit. So if you have any of these guys in the weather games that we've been mentioning, the Chicago, Cleveland games especially, that you are unsure of, I'll be going live. If I'm solo, I'm going to go live at 11:30 tomorrow. There's the CEO. Kev, is tomorrow the day that you and Maddie are out? I meant to message Maddie earlier and I forgot to. But if I'm going solo, I will go live at 11:30 a.m. Eastern tomorrow, answering all of your start sit questions ahead of Sunday. We'll have injury reports and hopefully a better grasp on what the weather is. We'll also be going live Sunday night at halftime of the Sunday night football game to go over the first look at waivers for week 7. Solo it is. Appreciate you all. Please hit us with a like and a sub. Like I said, we also have a Discord if you want to drop any of your questions in there. We'll be talking about more props in there as well. Or if you have any other start sit questions, you can drop them on any of our videos. We'll be sure to answer them. So thank you guys for joining us. Let's get some dubs, make some money in week 6, and we'll talk to you soon.